Good morning. Today's topic is Mary Dyer and her effect on American history in Puritanism and Quakerism. Mary Dyer, who was a significant figure in the early history of the United States, is best known for her advocacy for religious freedom and her association with Quakers. She was born Mary Bennett around 1611 in England, and she migrated to the Massachusetts Bay Colony with her husband, William Dyer, in 1635. Initially aligning with the Puritans, Mary and William later embraced Quakerism after encountering Quaker missionaries. Quakers, also known as the Society of Friends, held beliefs that challenged and established Puritan orthodoxy, particularly concerning the role of clergy and the authority of Scripture. So Mary becomes deeply involved in Quaker activities, advocating for religious tolerance and the rights of Quakers to practice their faith freely. However, her outspokenness and activism leads to her arrest multiple times by colonial authorities, as well as her personally being vilified. A notable event in Mary Dyer's life was the accusation of a monstrous birth. So in 1637, Mary gives birth to a stillborn with severe physical deformities. The tragic event leads to speculation and accusations of witchcraft along with this monstrous birth, reflecting the superstitious beliefs that were prevalent in colonial society. However, as stated in some research by Stella Setka, Mary Dyer was in fact what she would call a true woman, or an example of true womanhood. True womanhood is described by Setka as encompassing four cardinal virtues: piety, purity, submissiveness, and domesticity. These virtues are distilled from the roles associated with 17th century women and were mythologized in the 19th century to then align with the ideal woman from that time. A true woman as seen as more pious than men, serving as her husband's helpmate in spiritual matters and the guardian of goodness, purity, and loveliness. This is obviously going to affect the Puritan idea of patriarchy at the time. Mary's connection to another individual, Anne Hutchison, is also significant, and we want to note that because both women challenged the religious and social norms of the Puritan establishment. Anne Hutchison, a charismatic religious leader, held gatherings in her home where she discussed religious matters and critiqued the teachings of Puritan ministers, dangerous for the time, obviously. Her unorthodox views and growing influence eventually leads to her banishment from the Massachusetts Bay Colony in 1638. So Anne is banished, as well as Mary having multiple banishments. While there is no direct evidence of a close relationship between the two women, they do share similar beliefs and face persecution from the Puritan authorities for their religious dissent. Both women symbolize structure for religious freedom and the right to dissent in colonial America. In another article by Marilyn Westerkamp, Puritan Women, Spiritual Power, and the Question of Sexuality, she delves into the challenges faced by women who dissented from established male-led orthodoxies, highlighting the complexities of gendered orthodoxy in the Puritan community. Quaker crisis, or the Quaker crisis, brings notoriety to charismatic women within their movement, like Dyer, leading to a narrative of Quaker exceptionalism where Quaker men are overshadowed, thus further vilifying these Quaker women in the minds of the Puritan patriarchy. Mary Dyer's story takes a tragic turn when she is sentenced to death by hanging in 1659 after repeatedly defying a ban on Quaker meetings and preaching. Despite being granted clemency and banished from the colony on previous occasions, Mary chooses to return to Massachusetts in solidarity, with other Quakers facing persecution. On June 1st, 1660, Mary Dyer is executed in the Boston Commons, completing and becoming a martyr for the cause of religious freedom. Her martyrdom draws widespread attention and contributes to a growing public sentiment against religious intolerance in the colonies, and this is what we see as her legacy. It endures as a symbol of courage, resilience, and resistance against oppression. And her story continues to inspire generations of activists advocating for liberty and conscience and the separation of church and state. Thank you for listening.